to Mindfunda with another interview today with a lovely lady who knows very much about dreaming and the moon. My name is Susanne van Doorn. I'm a Dutch psychologist, orthomolecular therapist. That means I know something about food and your health. And I am a blogger on mindfunda.com. If you visit my site, mindfunda.com, sign up for the newsletter so you can grab yourself my free ebook about mutual dreaming. And don't forget, while you tuned into YouTube, to sign up on my YouTube channel, because I'll be loading up a lot of interesting videos. Today, I have the honor of meeting and chatting with Connie Kaplan, a lady who holds a master's degree not only in communication but also in psychology and a doctorate in ministry, and she dreamt herself back alive. She's an author of several books: The Invisible Garment, 30 Spiritual Principles that Weave the Fabric of Human Life, Dreams Are Letters from the Soul, and the book we are talking about tonight, The Woman's Book of Dreams. Here it is. Here's my copy. The Book of Dreams is divided into 5 parts. The first part talks about astrology with 12 influences of the planets and the signs and 30 types of dreams. The second part is about dream cycles. The third part is dreaming of to alter the past, and the fourth part is dreaming of the future. It's very, very, very interesting to dream about the future. And the fifth and the closing part is about the most important one of all, in my eyes, giving the gift. Hello, Connie. Welcome.
Hello, Susanne. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad to finally meet you. You look wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
In the
Thank you.
first part of your book, you dream about, you tell us about your retreat with a medicine woman and how you in that retreat became aware of the connection between the moon and dreaming. Very much aware. You've, like almost any woman, you have always been aware of the connection of dreaming and the moon. But you write, and that's so beautiful formulated: that day the earth became my mother and I understood my body as a mini version of her. It's so powerful. The universe is built out of energy lines, and the moon regulates the energy through the wombs of women. It plucks the lines like harp strings. And that reminds me of the myth of Indra, the god with the connective lines filled with jewels, and each jewel reflects the other jewels around it. Everything is connected. It's so beautiful formulated. And you learned how to listen to the music, but you can also help us by organizing our own tunes, because in the first part of your book you give us 2 organizing structures. And the first is about the voyage the moon makes each month, and the second is about the 13 dreams a person can have. Can you tell us more about how the moon reflects your dreams, affects your dreams?
Well, it stands to reason that
I can't. Can I show it? Is it visible, sir?
this is I can see it. It stands to reason that on some level we know everything is connected. Everything in the universe is connected to everything else in the universe. Everything that is happening somewhere else is also happening here. So this statement is basically that the moment you took your first breath, you made that connection, you concretized that connection as if you signed a contract with life and with the universe, and this is the contract that you're going to live. And in that moment, the planets were all wherever they were, and the moon was wherever it was, and you connected with those planets and with the moon. So as the moon continues to circle around the Earth, it moves through all of the signs of the zodiac. It aspects every one of those planets at some time or another during the month. And it goes through all of its phases at some time or another during the month. So you have this very sort of complex and yet simple relationship with the moon. As it goes through the signs of the zodiac, it affects you based on where those signs were in your natal chart, right?
Yeah.
And as it goes through its phases, it changes its pull on you, on your body. And when it returns once a month, it returns to the exact same phase that it was in the moment that you were born. On that night, you're going to have a special dream. We call those power dreams. Mm-hmm. Once a month, it goes through the exact same degree of the same sign that it was in the moment that you were born. That's another power day. So you're going to have 2 power day dreams every month. And then once a year, relatively close to your birthday, it hits the exact same sign and same phase that you were born. It's not on your birthday necessarily, but it's within 2 weeks. That's a big power day.
Yeah.
So the implication here, Susanne, is that when you lie down to go to sleep, your body changes its relationship to gravity, and it changes its relationship to the moon. And in addition to that, it changes its relationship to the power of the earth, because your heart is allowed then to completely and fully synchronize with the same frequency, the same vibration that the earth is emanating. So you become part of the crust of the earth. So that's what I meant by saying I realized that my body was part of the earth. Your body becomes part of the crust of the earth. So just like the moon is pulling on the tides of the earth, she's pulling on the tides of your body, when you're asleep. And so the different types of energetic experiences that you have on a given night are largely dependent on the location of the moon and how that interfaces with your personal natal chart. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is not astrology, but kind of is. It depends on astrology a little bit to understand it.
Recent research showed that the moon affects the magnetic field of the earth and pulls it, and people are very susceptible to that magnetic field and relate to it. So it was very, very good to read that science finally found out what we already know.
What we've known all along, right?
Yes. So you talk about 13 types of dreams, and the moon has 13 phases during a year. Is there a connection between the 13 types of dreams that you discuss in the books and the 13 phases of the moon?
Well, yes, but it's not something that can be, I can't say when the moon is full in Aries, you're going to have this kind of dream. And, each person is such a unique individual that during those 13 full moon phases of the year, you will have a unique dreaming pattern. So what I encourage people to do is just start writing down their dreams and writing down the lunar situations under which you have those dreams, so that after a year or so, you can take a look at, let me look at all the dreams that I have when the moon is, in Aries. And you'll start to see what those patterns are. So yes, there are definitely patterns, and no, I can't just, enumerate them for you.
No.
I do have, on my website, I offer the opportunity for people to subscribe to a lunar calendar.
Yeah. This is one of yours.
Yes, this is one of my
dream calendars.
Right. That's the way would chart the dreams originally so that I could see how they changed during the month. But now that I wrote this book, before the internet was internet-y. So now I offer,
because I was at home charting with the astrology, and I've written it in front of your book. My moon is in Virgo, 20 signs, 20 degrees, and yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, you got me.
But anyway, I'm saying there's a lunar calendar / dream diary that I offer through my website where people can post their dreams, and then you can use the search engine and just say, let me look at all the full moon dreams for the last 3 years or whatever, and that's a little simpler way to learn what your own patterns are and what your own dreaming system is.
Yeah, can you give me your website so people can look it up?
The website is www.turtledreamers, like the animal turtle, turtledreamers.com.
Yeah, I like turtles. I like that name because...
Well, part of the reason I chose them is because, they have the 13 divisions on the back, on their back. So they have 13 full moons just right there on their house that they carry around with them. So...
Yeah. Okay, so to listen to the inner music the moon plays each night, you have to chart your dreams and write them down and look up the moon, where the moon is. The second organizational tool you give us for dreams is the 13 types of dreams. And those 30 types of dreams, you divide them in 4 types of dreaming: personal dreaming, collective dreaming, conscious dreaming, and dreams of dancing the wave. And it would go beyond the scope of this interview to discuss all 13 types of dreams. So I wanted to ask you to talk with me about those beautiful dreams of dancing the wave, because it's really about the connectiveness we all have. And the first type of dream you distinguish in those dreams of dancing the waves is the ceremonial dreaming. Would you tell us something about ceremonial dreaming?
Let me start by just saying that the way we define dreaming in this book, and the way I define dreaming with all the people that I work with, is this. When you do lie down and become a part of the crust of the earth, your entire body becomes more or less paralyzed, and your physical body is just simply regenerating. That's one of the main reasons that we go to sleep. Your spiritual body starts this journey back toward the soul, back toward home, to plug in as if it were a spiritual iPod or something, and needs to be recharged. And on that journey back toward the soul, you have an energetic experience. Your spiritual body interfaces with cosmic energy. And that is an energetic experience that you then try to remember by writing a little story about it. So what you remember as the dream was not the experience itself, but a story about the experience. The dream is already one generation removed from the actual experience. All right, so in terms of ceremonial dreaming, what we know is that nothing happens in perceptual reality until it has been thought about. It starts as an idea, and then it creates energy around itself. Yeah. So on your journey back to soul, on some nights of the month, you will probably encounter that space in cosmic thought where ideas begin to germinate. And in that space, you will have an energetic experience. And that energetic experience is similar to our ceremonies that we create as humans. So you will write a story about that energetic experience that is like a ceremony. But the ceremony will probably be familiar to you because it's your personal mind that's writing the story, right? So you pull from your own lexicon of symbols and ideas and experiences to write the story. But you have to keep in mind always even when you're telling the story, thinking about the story, remembering the story, that it is pointing toward an energetic experience that's beyond the story. So in a ceremonial dream, you will have encountered that place where architecture and ceremony create a blueprint for an idea that is ready to manifest in form. And you'll write that story, and that's the ceremony that you remember, which really just points you to the fact that you were in that ceremonial space in the cosmic, realms. Did that make sense? Was that too esoteric?
Yes. But I've also performed mutual dreaming ceremonies, like the Dream Helper ceremony, and that creates a special kind of bond between people because you go into a kind of ceremonial act together of chatting together and setting a goal together, dreaming together, trying to solve one of the people's problems together, and it's very, very powerful dreaming.
Yes, of course, your intentionality is important. And at the same time, intentional dreaming is so paradoxical because on the one hand, yes, you set an intention, you set a goal, you work either with yourself or together with other people. At the same time, you have to completely surrender. So you're setting an intention and you're completely surrendering to the energy that is available. It's a paradoxical skill that that you have to develop. But absolutely, those kinds of ceremonies are incredibly powerful.
The second type of the dreaming that you describe by dreams of dancing the weave is the shamanic dreaming. And shamanic is a type of dreaming that resonates with a lot of people. Shamanism is really innate. It's the most ancient religion of humankind. Could you tell us something about that type of dreaming?
It's the same. It kind of follows the same principle. On some nights, you will encounter that morphic field of thought that is shamanic in nature. It's a little shamanism is it's a little bit of magic, but it's also just a little bit of wisdom and common sense, kind of merged. And everyone has access to that field of wisdom. It's just that most of us are either afraid of it because it does seem kind of magical, and we're afraid of that, or we're just so not in the habit of noticing that we have those skills. But that's what a shamanic dream is. Once again, you've gone into the realm of shamanistic thought and shamanistic wisdom on your journey toward the soul, and you've learned something, you've realized something, you've embodied something. So I think that yes, shamanism is a very old religion, and it's not as practiced so much anymore because we're moving as a species out of that belief system that says you have to go somewhere else to get fixed. You have to go to a shaman, or you have to go to the priest, or you have to go, to church or something. You have to go to a healer. We're moving out of that because we're realizing the power of the individual. So I think that form is falling away, even though the field of wisdom that form pulls from is still there and available to anybody who can access it.
And that really ties in nicely with the third type of dreaming, the phenomenal dreaming, that the dreamer goes into a parallel universe with somebody else, and you are dreaming someone else's dream. And that is such a revolutionary thought in our Western belief system. We always, not always, but most of us in Western civilization who work with dreams only interpret dreams as being parts of ourselves. And because I'm a mother, I have children, I know I can dream for my children, especially when it comes to their health. So could you tell us, please, more about that part of dreaming?
Yes, there again, it's really about that awareness. You kind of have to suspend your belief that everything is about me in order to get into the phenomenal dreaming state of mind. That journey back to the soul is not a singular journey. You are encountering all of the beings on the planet potentially. You know, you're moving into a space that is not defined by body and boundary. So you're moving into a space where all potential exists. Everything that is possible exists as you're moving through cosmic reality toward, creator. You can encounter all kinds of people and all kinds of things and all kinds of wisdom in that movement. I'm going to give you an example that's not in the book because it didn't happen until well after the book was published. I think. I'm pretty sure. In the summer of 2001, dreamers in my dream group and dreamers from all over the country and really all over the world who were connected with me through my website were having these dreams where they were trying to dial 911, which in America is the thing that you call when you have an emergency or a crisis, and couldn't get through. Either we would get put on hold or disconnected, or the person who answered didn't speak a language that we could understand, or there were just terrible problems in getting through to 911. And we spent all summer trying to figure out, what does that mean? Maybe it means we're not supposed to call for help. We have to solve our own problems, and da-da-da-da-da. We went through all kinds of typical interpreting the symbol rather than trying to figure out what the symbol was symbolizing. And then on 9/11, when the planes hit the towers, we all went, oh, because you see, that energy was already out there.
Yeah.
It was being planned. It was written down. You know, people knew, some people, not all people, but some people knew that this was going to happen, and we were dreaming that it was going to happen. But we didn't at that time have the skills to interpret the fact that we were prophets. You know, we didn't, and what would we have done with it anyway? You know, call the FBI or something, I don't know. So that kind of dreaming, that kind of being able to move into the future and really access what is stirring, what is ready to manifest, it's a skill that is very, very powerful, but not very well recognized, because it's hard. It's hard to know when you're being a prophet and when you're just dreaming a little mundane dream. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's always after things happen that you say, I knew.
Yeah.
But you can also see how dreams prepare us human beings for things that really shake our world and shake our world view, like 9/11 did. And well, it's a beautiful story. It's very powerful to have such experiences.
Yeah, it changed my life in the sense that it was so, in this ironic, ugly way, affirming. You know, it told us that we knew what we knew, that we were afraid to own what we knew, but we knew it. So I'm not so afraid to own what I know anymore. I've been working on that for the last 13, 14 years, of being willing to own the power of a dreaming person, really willing to own it.
Yeah, but I can also imagine that an experience like that has made you wonder about if life is predetermined.
Yes, and of course it makes us wonder, is there anything we can do?
Yeah.
And what is that? If so, what is that doingness? Is it helpful to have dreamed something, even though there was nothing but myself as the witness in the dream, witnessing something? That I'm still working with. I'm still wondering about. The the quantum physicists have certainly affirmed that there is no such thing as an objective witness. The observer effect is real. What you observe is affected by your own beingness. So I have to think that if I witness something in the cosmos, I have affected it in some way. And so I'm still working with exactly what that means, exactly what that says to us as dreaming women.
Yeah, I think we all are asking ourselves those questions.
Mm-hmm.
The last type of dreams of dancing the weave is the sacred dreams, and those are the dreams that we all long for, and that when we have them, we remember them, because those are the dreams that tell you about who you are.
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell us about that?
Those are the dreams that very often come on those power days of your month.
Yeah.
So it's important to recognize when those are and to look at those. I think it's probably the most important part of being a human is that occasionally you get absolute affirmation.
Yeah.
Occasionally you get those moments when you go, you know what? I'm good. I'm wise. I'm strong. I'm present. I am here to deliver the gift that is this configuration of energy. And that's all I'm here to do, is to bring that gift into form. It doesn't matter, how much money I make. It doesn't matter how famous I am. It doesn't matter what I do, even. It's just who I am. The I amness that enters a room or a circumstance every time I enter a room or a circumstance, that's my gift. And so you'll have these dreams that just remind you of that. And sometimes those dreams, the story that you write about them will be almost like love stories. There's this being who just shows up, and you feel so loved and so whole and so perfect in the presence of that being that you wake up just feeling different that day.
Yeah.
And that's really just, I think, that you made it all the way home to the soul, and the soul said, "Yay, you're here, and I love you so much."
Yeah.
And so you write that story, about a cute guy that loves you.
Oh, I once met an owl that was flying straight at me, and I was a bit afraid. But then, before I wanted to back away because I was afraid, but to my great inner surprise, I put out my arm, and it landed on my arm, and I woke up so happy. That was for me a sacred dream.
Exactly. That deep encounter with who we are as living beings, as opposed to psychological personalities, right?
Yeah. You talked before about moon power days. There are several moon power days, and it was such a discovery for me. So each year, when it's close to my birthday, I'm born 10th of April, so I just had my moon power day. But I always put out my dreaming. I don't know if I'm dreaming. I want to remember a dream, then it's like I have to put out my chakra energy and say, hey, I'm here,
Uh-huh.
come. And
Uh-huh.
those moon power days, you refer to them just yet, but can you tell us more specifically what to look for when we want to have be alert to a moon power day?
Well, I mean, just there's the usual, don't drink too much, don't eat too much, don't go to bed under stressful circumstances if
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
possibly can. Um, and um, yeah, I think that idea of kind of putting out your radar
Hmm.
before you go to sleep is really nice. Although I have to tell you, there are often times when I forget. I haven't looked at the lunar calendar that day, and I forget that this is going to be,
Yeah.
one of my moon power days, and then I wake up with a big dream, and I go and look, and sure enough, it was.
Yeah.
So um, the dreaming will work in spite of you.
Hmm.
It doesn't wait for you to set the stage, but it does have to sometimes struggle through your resistances. So it is great to be as alert and aware
Yeah.
as possible before you go to sleep on a moon power day. But especially that big one, that one right around your birthday is just kind of like I always kind of set that day aside
Yeah.
as a private day, as a personal ceremony day, even more than my birthday.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
for
And
that reason,
I
yeah.
always eat a little more magnesium because it helps me remember dreams.
Right,
So,
exactly.
yeah. Now, the, now we've covered part one of your book. Let's go to part two. And that's about the dream circles. And you describe in your book about dreams, such a really lovely, elegant way of doing dream circles. And you describe how your own dream circles began to grow and how you lived and grew in dream circles. Can you tell us something about it?
The dream circle ceremony is one that I was partially taught in the dream and partially taught by a woman named Heather Valencia. And I recommend your reading her book, which is called The Queen of Dreams.
Yeah.
Um, it's a ceremony in which we use a stone. We pass the stone. There's a stone. We pass the stone in the counterclockwise direction in the dream circle because counterclockwise is the direction of the galaxy.
Yeah.
It's the direction that the Earth turns on her axis. It's the direction that the Earth rotates around the sun. It's the direction that that the solar system is rotating in the galaxy. So, in a ceremony, when you move in the counterclockwise direction, you're
Mm-hmm.
actually opening. Many ceremonies in indigenous cultures are clockwise type ceremonies because they are closed. They want protection, they want boundary, they want, sealed circles. But a
Yeah.
dream circle is an opening into information that wants to come through. So we pass the stone, we share our dreams, and then we speak with each other about what the dreams seem to be saying. And we have a few rules. One is that, and that some of these rules kind of go counter to our socialization process. So one is that we don't speak psychologically ever. We don't ever say, this means that your mother, da 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 da, and I think you should, and whatever. It's
Yeah.
none. There's no personal
No.
information that comes through. We're listening to what the dreaming is trying to tell us about what is going on spiritually and cosmically. So, no personal chatter. Don't repeat what someone else has said. So often in our cultures, we try to endorse each other, reinforce. Oh yes, I liked what you said, and I think that, or we argue with it. You said so and so, and I don't think that's right. Da da da. It's That's not the point of dream circle. If it's already been said and you agree with it, then it's already been said. It doesn't need to be said again.
Mm-hmm.
If you disagree with it, you don't have to state it as a disagreement. You state what you heard. You just state what you heard. The third rule is that we don't correct people. So if somebody shares a dream about wearing green shoes and someone else heard that dream as red shoes, we don't correct her. We listen to her. Why were those shoes red in her, hearing of the dream? So it's an incredibly respectful kind of situation where everyone's input is valued equally. And then we don't crosstalk. There is no crosstalk. You only speak when you are holding the stone. And the thing that is so valuable about that I have learned over these 25 years or so of running dream circles, is that when you only speak when you're holding the stone, you're not listening with the idea of what am I going to say back, what am I going to say back, what am I going to say back. You're listening to what this person is saying. It has completely changed the way I listen in every circumstance, not only dream circle, but in every circumstance. I listen more respectfully, to people than I did when I was younger and was trying to compete with them or, whatever it is that we do, argue or agree, but, yeah, be opinionated. Yeah. That's the point. So in Dream Circle, you kind of learn that you don't have to be opinionated. You don't have to value your opinion or someone else's opinion. You have to simply speak a heart-type truth about what you hear coming through this dream story. Mm-hmm. So you're listening to metaphor. You're not listening to, I think this symbol means that and this image means that. You're listening to, what did this dreamer experience out there on her journey that made her write this story? Mm-hmm. What was the experience behind? Another way to say that is sometimes at night when we look up into the sky, our eyes are so much more attracted to the stars and to the constellation than to the big, huge black sky that holds them. So in Dream Circle, we're trying to move beyond the stars and the pictures and the constellations into what was it, in the cosmos that night that made this dreamer write this story and bring this story to me right now to hear. What am I trying to hear? So it's as if we're listening to the dream as if it were a messenger rather than to the dream as if it has meaning of its own. So that's pretty much what the point is of Dream Circle. And it's so surprising. Now, when I wrote this book, we didn't do it this way. But now, in my Dream Circles, you bring a dream typed up on a piece of paper. And we all throw our pieces of paper into a basket. And then we pull a dream out. Mm-hmm. So you may not be reading your own dream at Dream Circle. You may be sharing someone else's dream. So nobody really knows whose dream is whose when we're discussing them. And it makes for a very interesting and much more powerful circle, because you don't get trapped into, maybe I shouldn't say that because that might hurt her feelings, or maybe I shouldn't say that because I know something about her that nobody else knows, or you don't get trapped into that because you don't even know whose dream you're talking about. You're just smart. Yeah, it's really it takes the circle to another level of depth.
Mm-hmm. Wow, thank you for sharing this.
Yeah,
very valuable information. I had a dream about your book once. It was the night before I had to do I had to give workshops on conference for pregnant ladies, and in my dream I walked downstairs and took your book out of my book closet and I looked at it and said, I'm going to do a dream circle.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And so you have a dream circle?
Yes, I have a dream circle that's in my living room, and I have some virtual dream circles about mutual dreaming, lucid dreaming, and we all notice that you have mutual themes and that people pick up on things from people in the group, exactly like you describe in your
Right,
book.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
very powerful. Let's move on to the third part of your book, and that is redreaming the past. And to me, it's about healing. It's
Hmm.
about rebalancing energy. And one thing that I really, really liked, and I want to ask you about that because it's about redreaming the myth of oh God,
Persephone.
Persephone. Sorry, Persephone, because it's a theme that is so that lives in so many women's lives. Persephone is such a powerful metaphor for our current lives as women. And you have a lovely story in the book about redreaming the myth. Would you care to share something about that?
Well, for those of you who, for those of your audience who don't know the myth, the in a nutshell, Persephone was the beautiful daughter of Demeter and Zeus, and Demeter was the goddess of the harvest, goddess of the grain of the growth. And at some point in her early teens, apparently, Zeus sold Persephone to Pluto, the god of the underworld, to be his wife. And so one day Demeter and Persephone were out in the field, and the earth opened up, and Pluto came up and grabbed her and took her away. And the myth does go on from there, but I'll stop there because that's enough. The pre-patriarchal telling of that story is that Persephone was so fascinated by the fact that as her mother was kind of drawing the grain up out of the earth, the roots were sinking equally deeply down into the earth. And so she would go into the underworld just to watch the roots deepening as the grain grew above the earth. And sometimes she would encounter lost souls in the underworld. And so she would gather them up and take them back up to the light. And Pluto found out about this, and so he called her to him, or had his people bring her and say, and he said to her, "You're performing acts of power in my kingdom, and that's not allowed." And her response was, "Well, then you should marry me, because that way I would be the queen of your kingdom, and you would have the most beautiful goddess in Olympus as your wife, and I would get to do whatever I wanted to because I'd be the queen of your kingdom." So I use that in the book because one of them is a win-lose situation, and the other one is a win-win situation. And this is what I encourage all women to come to that place. You're going to go into the underworld. You know, there are going to be times when you experience depressions or you experience down times. You need to go inward and self-investigate.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to happen. You're either going to do it kicking and screaming, or you're going to do it as an act of power. And to become truly, truly familiar with what it is to become a woman of power, you have to learn to go into those times as an act of power. So your dreams will guide you through that. Now, I'll give you a little hint. Often those dreams will come when the moon, on the night of the month when the moon is in some way aspecting Pluto, which used to be a planet and is not a planet anymore, but it still has right, it's like there used to be sins in the Catholic Church that aren't sins anymore. I don't know how that happens, but when the moon is aspecting Pluto, it somehow gives you information about your own inner journeys. Those dreams usually give you information about what it is to go internal as an act of power. So start taking a look at those dreams when the moon is aspecting Pluto, either opposing Pluto, or in a trine, or in a square to Pluto.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very, very interesting. Well, finally, I want to go to part 4 of your book, and it's a hot part for me. It's about dreaming the future, and that is so powerful because I am so used to um, thinking, oh, this is about my past, and that symbolizes this, and this symbolizes that. And your book, it really made me reconsider the way I look at dreams, because it takes you away from all the psychological stuff and takes a step back. And that dreaming of the future is something that is, well, like you say, an imperative of the master dreamer. And when you were ill in 1986, sorry, English is not my native language, but 1986, then you said something really powerful. I dreamed myself back alive. Can you tell us something about the dream you had, or the dreams you had?
The dreams that I had. There were many teachers that would come to me in those dreams. I would have similar dreams about similar teachers over and over and over during that 2 years that I was mostly asleep. And I'll give you an example. One was a woman, and she was kind of boxy, kind of square, and she looked a little like a Native American teacher, perhaps. And in these dreams, she would gather us up and she would take us into a cave. And she would have us look at the paintings, the drawings that were on the walls of the cave. And she would have us reproduce them, sometimes on paper or sometimes with a stick on the floor. She wanted to see if we could duplicate what we were seeing. Here is an image, reproduce it on this medium. And when we reproduced these images to her satisfaction, she would wrap us in a blanket and let us take a nap. So taking a nap in a dream is, like, that's the prize. And as we would be drifting off to sleep, she would point out the mouth of the cave, and there would be the full moon. Now, I was very ill, and I wasn't connecting the dots at the time during that illness, but I was, to the best of my ability, writing down, a few dreams here and there. So when I finally got better and I went back to read those dream journals, I realized that I had had that dream again and again and again and again. And that's when it occurred to me to look at a lunar calendar, because the end of the dream was always about the full moon. And sure enough, that teacher had shown up on a full moon every month for 13 straight months. So that's when I realized, this whole thing is, all of these dreams that I've had are telling me something about how the moon influences our dreaming. And that's kind of what guided me into this whole exploration of what it is to dream and what the dreams mean. Now, as I have said, when our consciousness leaves our body so that our body can just regenerate, and our consciousness wants to go back out to the soul to regenerate, we move into a sort of a unified field of consciousness that I call the not yet, the field of all possibilities. So in a very literal way, we're moving into the future. We're moving into what is possible but has not manifested yet. So dreaming, that kind of dreaming turns us into, wizards like Merlin. We are living backwards in time. We go into the future and we bring back a piece of what has happened out of the future into our waking reality the next morning. So in a very real way, on those nights when the lunar conditions are right for us to do that, we are dreaming the future. We're plucking possibility and sort of dragging it back in on our consciousness threads into probability. We're starting to assist an idea into form. And so that's what I really mean by dreaming the future. We're constantly moving out into the not yet and magnetizing something that wants to be brought into form. And so that's the reason that I stress so much that if you, in order to be a really responsible dreamer, you have to have a spiritual practice. Because when your consciousness moves into that realm of all possibilities, what you want to be doing is magnetizing something that is beneficial for the greatest number of dynamics. You know, you don't want to be magnetizing a lot of the nefarious thoughts and ideas that are out there. So that's why I really why I became a spiritual teacher. It's more about practicing getting rid of all of the lies and all of the misinformation that you carry around in your consciousness, so that when you go into your dreaming realms, you're bringing back in truth.
Yeah, and trying out all the different possibilities of the future.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's very powerful.
Exactly.
Yeah. The final chapter of your book is about giving the gifts. And I think you have given us the gift. And I wanted to ask you if you, because your book starts with such a lovely, lovely introduction, would you please read it for us?
I used to believe that I lived my life while awake, and that during sleep my psyche presented pictures to me to help me understand my life. If I broke the pictures or the dream into small parts, symbols, and analyzed them, I would come to a deeper understanding of my personal process and history. Now, I know that looking at dreaming from the opposite direction is my life's work. Dreaming gives us the images and vibrations of the dream weave, options ready to take form. Dreaming gives us the future.
Yes, I loved it. The moment I read it, I thought, I want to end the interview with that part.
Thank you.
Thank you for being my guest, and thank you for giving us all of your information.
Oh, well, you're welcome, and thank you for connecting with me. I'm so excited to know that there are dreaming circles that you're running that I didn't even have to know anything about. That's what I want in life, is for this information to just find its way to the people who need it and can spread it. And thank you for being the powerful dreamer that I know you are.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Susanne.